साथ संगत जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. You're watching KTV for a very special report. You ain't going to believe this, but just recently in the past few days the government have released a report. Now the report itself was released by the government department Commission of Countering Extremism, and one of the report idan jandiya is about the changing nature of activism among Sikhs here in the UK today. Now this is the report that was published by this department on the 7th of October. Now once this report was published, Sarsangaji, what happened was there was a reaction. And one of the biggest reactions came from a well-organised group that's actually doing seva out there for the Qawm, Sikh Federation UK. And with me today, I've got some of the some of the panelists from Sikh Federation UK. I'm going to talk to them about this particular report. Why have the government released this particular report, and why have they touched upon certain topics, for example, grooming, the Anand Karaj and Khalistan? So these are the things that they were talking about in this report. What was actually said, what was the need, that's what we're going to find out in the next 25 minutes. So first of all, let me introduce you, introduce the panel. On my right here, we have Jaswinder Singh ji from Sikh Network, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On my left here, we have Dabinderjit Singh from Sikh Federation UK, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh, and Panthic Singh ji from Sikh Federation UK, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on KTV to tell us exactly what's happening out there. This is absolutely unbelievable, and I've only been having snippets of the conversation in regards to what was actually in this report, and I am absolutely horrified. You ain't going to believe this, but check this out. The actual Commission for Countering Extremism did a survey. Now with this survey they did a few months ago, they asked a few questions, and in the survey the findings were the most important thing that we need to understand here. They did the survey to find out who the people were most aware of what extremism is and the fear of. And in that particular survey, we came in at number 10, 0, as in like we were the last ones that people were worried about. Sikh extremism, no one's ever heard of Sikh extremism. There were so many other groups and faiths that were above us. We were at the bottom of the list, and still this department then issued and commissioned a paper. How did this all happen? What we'll do is we'll go to I think Dabinderjit Singh first. Dabinderjit Singh, you've had a chance to read the report. I'm thinking when viewers hear this, they're going to be shocked to find out that a group that came in bottom of a list of feared extremism here in the UK was the one that the government actually commissioned to do a report on. That's mind-boggling. Please explain to the Sangatam what happened there.
I think what you've raised is the fact that it was the Commission itself that carried out this consultation. 3,000 people involved in that consultation. And actually there were 12 groups, we came 12th.
Wow, okay.
And there were only 19 individuals out of that 3,000 that had any concerns about Sikhs.
Wow.
Hindus, Jews were higher. Christians were higher. Animal rights were higher. Muslims were right at the top. But there was the far right, the far left. There were other groups there. There were 12 of them. And when they published those results in July, they came out in the national press. And we wrote to Sarah Khan, who is the independent commissioner, in July, saying, Sikhs have come at the bottom, but we have been surprised that there's 19 people worried about Sikhs. We want to have a meeting because we'd heard rumours that academics had been appointed to write about Sikhs. And if I go back, in April, the Commission said they'd commissioned 19 different reports.
Wow.
And they listed 11 of them and who the academics were. There was no mention of Sikhs in April. So this week, when we wrote to them, they sent us that link. We said, that doesn't tell us anything because it never mentioned Sikhs. Therefore, when you knew in July the public here was just not concerned with Sikhs, why did you this week publish 3 reports on Muslims and 1 on Sikhs, but you've had no reports on the Hindu community, Jewish community, or the Christian community? You are targeting each and every Sikh in this country.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable to think that a government department will do something like that, and especially on a survey they commission, and then they go out and commission this report. You know, just how does that make you feel, and what was your response?
I think this has been a long-standing concern in that the government, the various government departments have been artificially or focused on the Sikh community for our activism. And Sikh activism is within our DNA, first and foremost. Whether it's from Guru Nanak Sahib Ji, whether it's from Miri Piri Sadat, political and religious is inseparable from Sikhi.
Yeah.
And our activism stems from the mass human rights abuses that happened in Punjab from 1947 all the way up to 1984 and beyond, even today.
Yep.
So this is part of our faith, integral part of our faith. And the government has been obsessed with certain individuals that have used their personal agendas to defame the community. Authors of this report, well-known controversial figure like Sunny Hundal, who has constantly targeted the Sikh faith and our practices, our protocols, despite him not being born in a Sikh family, but he's a self-proclaimed atheist. So he has no faith and no religion, but he's self-proclaimed expert on Sikhi. And Dr. Jasbir Jutti from Birmingham University, again, is a known controversial commentator, academic on Sikh practices. And the government, in recent meetings, we've had conversations with MHCLG and roundtables where they have been exposed for hidden agendas and doing extremism, using the Home Office resources to do investigations on Sikh activism in the UK. And when we challenged them about that, largely off the Anand College and also the Vasaki Millah in Smethwick, and just finding the Khalistan slogan offensive to them. This is why they commissioned. So there's been an agenda within government to look at Sikhs, and every time they've done it, they've found no evidence. We spoke to the Home Office researcher who did the report and said, I found no evidence of anything of any concern. In 2018, CREST, which was sponsored by MI5, did an internal research commission for activism and radicalisation in the Sikh community. And Dr. Jasjeet Singh from Leeds did a thorough report. And in that, he concluded that there was no extremism or radicalisation of any sort or any level anywhere in the UK or diaspora. And this was a government, MI5 intelligence-backed report. But that obviously didn't give the government the answer they wanted. They wanted to create this, and it is linked to India and the Modi government coming here and inflaming these accusations that UK Sikh activists are funding or involved in extremism across the world. And I think it was trying to create that evidence base. And this is now the latest step of they secretly commissioned this report. And the outputs are very clear. And I mentioned the two authors, Sunny Hundal and Jasbir Jutti, well-known controversial figures. And their report was issued. And I think the report was issued on Monday. And I think the Sikh Federation put out a press release and emails immediately and challenged the report, and the response was very evident.
So obviously Dr. Jutti Johal or Sunny Hundal are not here on the show, so and I'm not allegedly the controversial and their belief system I'm not aware of, so I can't comment on that. However, coming back to the report itself, because it is important that we touch upon this, like Justice just said, that is there an actual agenda here where they're trying to demonise Sikhs for being active?
So just picking up, because I know you want to bring Sakrani, but just picking up what Jazz said, this is really important because this is going out as we speak. Look, Dr. Jasbir Jutti Johal is an academic. You know, the cover of the report has the University of Birmingham logo. So she's responsible as an academic, she's an employee. But Sunny Hundal isn't an academic. Everyone knows that. That's just a fact. Irrespective of what they write, they're not academics. And then the other thing is, and this is very specific, on the 29th of July, government hold a meeting about hate crime, how Sikhs are being targeted. You know, individual Sikhs, our Gurdwaras, our institutions. Dr. Jasbir is sitting in the meeting. This data has just come out saying Sikhs are at the bottom. So I said, how much money are you putting into tackling hate crime against Sikhs? And they said categorically, we've had some money, but for the last 18 months we've not used it. I said, well, how dare you then spend money employing academics with her sitting in the room, you know, looking at Sikh extremism when your own results show there's no risk. And she stayed absolutely silent, and that was on the 29th of July. So when we wrote to them on Monday, we pointed that out. And the rest is history in the sense of they've taken down the report on Tuesday, and there will be a meeting with Sarah Khan herself on the 23rd. But the point is, a lot of people that are watching this want to read the report, but the report's been taken down.
Right.
But we've got the report, and we'll clearly go through page by page. And I think a national newspaper asked us that question: what are you concerned about in this report? And I stopped at page 8 because the list had already got to 12 things.
Well,
and they're basic things like they're questioning our faith in terms of gender equality. Who are these two individuals? And then the other interesting thing, this research is based on interviews with 12 people.
Right.
Of which many are anonymous. They're Core 1, Core 2, Sing 1, Sing 2. But there are 4 named individuals in there.
Right.
So if this report ever comes out again, clearly we know exactly who the 4 are.
Right.
And those people that would have downloaded this report before, it was taken off, is they also need to be accountable for what they said, and we'll come into that at some future time.
Definitely, we have to. Sarsangaji, is important that we've got people within our own community that are dialoguing with the government and then making things up in this respect, or giving their own agendas. Then that needs to be out in the front. The Sikh community need to be aware of these agendas, 110%. I'm absolutely shocked, and this is such a diabolical thing to happen, where we're the least, out of the 12 different groups, we were the least one out of concern, but yet they had the commission, actually it was done on the Sikh report. I don't know what to say, I'm actually shocked. So Khalistan, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo on the points Baji made, we know any report's value is sort of based around its representative sample, and it's quite clear that the representative sample is really weak. So personally, from my perspective, it's really concerning the narrative that is trying to be built around Sikhs here. We touched on certain points, such as gender equality, and I think these two individuals, and generally the narrative is we can speak about Preet Kaur Gill and the massive strides she's made within activism in the political stream. But that seems to really sort of miss their kind of thinking and viewpoint, and it's generally never looked good upon. And I think just generally the narrative being built, because I personally, as a Sikh in the UK, I don't see these things. I don't see threats of, extremism, and we know these terms are really dangerous because of the issues that have happened over the last 20 years. These terms, throwing them around, it's really, really dangerous, and we know nothing like that is going on within the Sikh community, and it kind of parallels quite a bit probably to Santji's time back in '84, and the narrative of people trying to spin around attacks on Hindus and that type of thing. I'm not seeing it, and the evidence is not there. So on the main, just really concerning for me.
Anyway, just another key thing is that academics, one academic and one individual who's wrote this, have tried to challenge the Sikh community on topics like grooming.
Right.
That it's an epidemic in this country, national grooming, and it is what's come out in the national papers is that this was buried by the police for decades.
Yep.
And now, when all of this evidence is out there, and the Sikh community, which are a very small minority in this country, have been shouting the same issues that have been identified in the north, in Rotherham, in Oldham, and across the UK, that we've also been targeted and suffering of this fact. And you have these individuals, and we've got multiple organisations who've been working day and night on grassroots, helping vulnerable people, that they have just dismissed this completely.
What do you mean dismissed it?
That grooming isn't an issue. They found no evidence of any grooming. It is actually fabricated to create hysteria and hate against one particular faith community, that there is no evidence, and they're actually then challenging independent reports that were done by the Quilliam Foundation and others, BBC Inside Out, that is just poorly written journalism. So that's bad, but they've provided no evidence in their report, which is supposed to be believable. And this is a strand throughout this report, in that they've questioned credible information without providing any substance. And the other real shocking and worrying allegation they make is that there is a real threat to relations between Sikh and Hindus in this country. And in my 35 years I have never heard, even in the height of 84, there was very little, if any, attacks against any Hindu mandir, any Hindu individuals, or any other en masse community. And if at that time there was no attacks, no talk in the Hindu community, when the Sikh pain was at its greatest, then why would there be today? And there's been no evidence of anyone or any complaints that I'm aware of that this exists. But to put it in a report as a whole topic is very dangerous and very controversial. And it's these assumptions without any evidence, without any backup, or without any cases themselves, just makes this report really poor and weak and really biased in terms of, whilst they've tried to challenge hidden agendas of the Sikh groups, they've actually just exposed their own hidden agendas, and they've actually come very clear because they've not provided any evidence. But just the thought that you would dismiss issues like grooming and the Anand College, belittle the Anand College ceremony to it just being disruption on people's weddings, not understanding the actual sandesh from the Sikh Maryada, and just belittling all of that and saying it's just causing trouble, is just really dangerous. It just shows a real lack of understanding of the Sikh faith and our practices.
This whole process is getting more shocking. Anyone watching this right now is going to be like, what is going on here? First of all, a report is commissioned on the back of absolutely nothing. And when the report is published, it actually goes and says that there is no grooming taking place. We've been shouting about grooming for the past 30, 40 years.
I mean, I'll say, ask the family sitting out there. We did the UK Sikh survey, said a huge 1 in 7 women had experienced or knew someone who'd been groomed. About 4,500 sample base.
Wow.
And ask the families that are sitting at home who've experienced this.
I'm shocked.
The issue here, though, rather than get into the details, we have dismissed this report. If you ask 12 people, 12 people, that is not the way government should operate. I think the actual authors, the Commission's report, right at the top says, the Commission is not responsible for the views expressed in this report. It's the responsibility of the authors. These are not the views of the government.
Right, okay.
We challenge that straight away, saying you published it on a gov.uk website, you're responsible. They are the ones that took it down. So our focus is very much on the Commission. What due diligence did you do on the authors in the first place? Because if they are biased and have their own views, they can find 12 anonymous people. Who knows whether they even exist? They are expressing their views. So you touched on grooming is one issue. Anand cards. They don't talk about Anand cards. They talk about interfaith marriage. Interfaith marriage is a non-issue for Sikhs. We've just said the Anand Kaj is a Sikh religious ceremony that can only be for 2 Sikhs. If 2 individuals of whichever faith or no faith want to get married, they can happily get married.
No one's got a problem.
No, all we're saying is we have certain rules that are basic rules for every single Sikh that come from the Akal Takht, that an Anand Kaj can only be 2 Sikhs. These 2 authors don't use the words Anand Kaj, they use interfaith marriage because they have their own narrative. I know Sukraj has just left, but they've introduced a phrase called ranking. They're saying there are Amritaris who are practicing Sikhs, and then there's a whole range of them, whereas somebody who could be non-practicing of cut their hair, and they're suggesting that Sikhs are ranked. Absolute nonsense. I'm not a better Sikh than Sukraj Singh. I may be an Amritari, he's clearly not an Amritari, but he's on his journey. We should all aspire to be Amritaris and follow the Guru's path. But for them to put it out in a document and for the Commission to publish it, our focus is the Commission. Whoever gets caught up in the crossfire, the authors, some of those named participants, we will see.
Now this is, I don't know what to say, I'll be absolutely honest. I'm thinking about who these, I've never met these individuals. I don't know who these individuals are. But to then go, because obviously in the community, everyone knows who's who. Who's actually active on the ground doing things. And when you talked about that grooming thing, I was shocked. We've been dealing with grooming since 2000. I've worked with Sikh Awareness Societies, with Sikh Helpline, even every other organisation that's come out there, Sikh Youth UK, everyone that's doing it. We have seen case after case after case, and then suggest that it's not happening. This is incredible.
Support these issues because they know they're
of course they do.
And this is the fact that anyone who's working for the Sikh community, there's a huge responsibility on them. And we carry that responsibility every single day with anything we do, whether it's in the public domain, whether it's privately with government, and any representation we make, we think twice and then again with what points we make and how we make them,
100%.
and ensure that we validate that with the Sangat in open form, whether it's on television, whether it's in Gurdwara. But individuals who are claiming to represent Sikhs that no one's ever seen. And this is the issue that we have in the community right now. We've had it in the past, the Jathebandis were kept outside. And now we have it again, that respected individuals who have the Panth's issue and agenda at heart, they are becoming less and less important to the government, and they will find individuals who have no community grassroots connection, no accountability, no transparency with the community to then speak on behalf. And it is again about that hidden agenda, the set agenda that they want, and that narrative that they want to portray. They will find evidence for it. Now, I'm just thankful to Baji, who was active on this. As soon as the report was published, we were openly on Twitter calling the report out. We sent emails immediately calling the report to be pulled down. The report itself made headlines across the world, in India and in the UK. So the contents of the report is now withdrawn. It was covered by mainstream media, and it will have an effect on individuals who are sitting there reading it. Because it's got the government official branding over it, it's on their website. So, given the response from the Sikh Federation UK, the pressure that was put on them, they were forced to pull it down. They've taken legal advice because they know they're vulnerable, and the accusations that they've made. And actually, given that step that they've removed it, I think now gives us more time to go through it, and actually the damage that individual Sikhs are making within the Sikh community. If I cannot get my head around when in a time where we are campaigning day and night to protect the Qurban, to protect Hakakat and our identity, and we have a huge not agenda, but in terms of our portrayal of Sikhs in the wider world and the context, and bringing that understanding that Sikhs themselves, who claim to be representative, are demonizing and putting a negative spin on Sikhi and Hakakars today. And that's the biggest threat, is from within. And this is that we need the Sangha to be much more aware and much more challenging of these types of documents, and really put them to the test. Okay,
so Sikh Federation, Sikh Network have been jumping on it. Who else has been helping you guys or supporting it? Because this is obviously affects every single Sikh in the UK. So why isn't every single Sikh organisation saying, hold up, you're trying to say there's no grooming in the Sikh community of this? There's the Anand Karaj, you're attacking Anand Karaj, and you're trying to saying Khalistan is extremist, we say Khalistan? This is unbelievable.
Just to touch upon the Khalistan issue, and I think this common thread runs through grooming and Anand-Karaj Khalistan. What they're saying is, it's mainly Amritaris that push the Khalistan agenda. It's mainly Amritaris that push the Anand-Karaj issue. It's mainly the Amritaris that lead the challenge to grooming. This is an attack, not on Amritaris, but on a Guru Sahib. Guru Sahib created the whole concept of Amrit and the fact that we should stand up and stand up.
100%.
Therefore, this narrative that's been created, I don't care who's created it. The government's created it, Sarah Khan's created it, these authors have created it, the contributors have created it. They have created it because they deem Sikh activism by Amritaris and non-Amritaris to be a threat. And we can't allow that.
If you go back to Indira Gandhi's letter to Margaret Thatcher, in 1984, it was those of the religious garb with the star, the dara and the kirpan pose the greatest threat to safety, both in India and in the diaspora, and they should be targeted. And we know over 150,000 young men from 15 to 30 were picked up, abducted, tortured and disappeared in Punjab because of the dastar, the dara and the kirpan. That same language was used in the 80s by the Margaret Thatcher government here to stop Nagar Kirtans and in turn Pradhans, and that same narrative now is being revived to attack the Amritaris, whatever views of them, whether they're the youth. They've again masked it in terms of increasing religiosity around, yes, on one side more Sikhs are becoming more religiously aware, but on the other side saying when they become religiously aware, they actually become extreme. So they're making this huge leap of whoever becomes more religiously awoken and aware, that they then become extreme again. And this is really dangerous and unfounded and a complete shows a lack of understanding of the Sikh Dharma and what it is. And I think this is the thing that actually, this is what we're up against.
Of course.
This is what we're up against. This is what the governments, the departments, this is their agenda. And when we talked right at the start, there is no evidence to suggest any sort of extremism that would warrant this report in the first place. So why are we even here talking about it when there is no... And it is about self-creation of an issue, so then you can devote resources, not to, as Devinderji said, not to stop hate crime, not to protect our Gurdwaristan, not to protect our elderly who are walking down and called racist names and attacked, but to actually invest in fictitious claims of extremism to demonize us instead of protecting them.
This needs to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt strongly with the whole Sikh community. Any Sikh that's bound down to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj right now will know that this affects us, every single one of us, regardless of our political views. This is absolutely dangerous. Where the government have issued this, well, the Commission for Countering Extremism have issued this particular report on the back of a survey they did and found that the Sikhs were the least threat. But then they've still done this, now which has been withdrawn at the moment, thanks to the work of Sikh Federation UK. But it needs to be challenged that this is the narrative they're trying to put out there. We need to take this head on, because if we don't, who else is going to? And not only that, everybody needs to sit around the table. I'm not bothered about which Jathebandi you belong to, which organisation you belong to. If you're bound down to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj and you're believing Maharaj is your Guru, then you need to sit together and we need to tackle this. And the government need to understand that that route that we have right now is the same route that our Gurus had. And if there's a problem with our route, there's a problem with our Guru. And that's what's going down. And if you're a contributor to trying to say that there's a problem with our Guru or the way that our Guru has their image, then because that's absolutely embarrassing to think that a Sikh honde nate Sikha de karam janm liya and then you're going against the Sikhi ideals. That's absolutely crazy. I don't know what to say about that. But Devinderji Singh, I know we've only got a few minutes left. How do we come around? How do we get everyone together to tackle this head on? Because it needs to be tackled and the government needs to change its stance. Because this is 84 papers near enough, isn't it? The same scenario.
So the issue is this, way. The success was we got that report taken down the following day. What we next want to do is, Sarah Khan has agreed to meet us on the 23rd.
Okay.
Sikh Federation, Sikh Network, Sikh Council, Preet Kaur Gill, they've all confirmed we'll be at that meeting.
Good.
Our objective is very clear. Yeah. This report should never see the light of day. They think they can redact, take out bits that are controversial. Yeah. There'll be nothing left of the report.
Yeah.
It'll be a meaningless report. But we also want to know, how did it come about?
Yep.
Because we know 2 of their 19 reports they didn't publish because they said there was anti-Semitic material in them. We want to know who checked this report, because they wrote to us within hours and say, we didn't know about this. That's not good enough. That is incompetence. Therefore, there's something about the Commission and the government, and there's something about the authors, and there's something about the contributors. We will start off with the Commission. We're also in touch with the Vice-Chancellor at Birmingham University who's written to us, because we're saying, your logo appears, it's your intellectual property. We want to know, should the Crown Prosecution Service decide to take a case against the Commission, the authors, do they include Birmingham University?
Very good.
Do they include any of the individual contributors? Because, and we can't say much on the media, but the reason why the Crown Prosecution Service will get involved is there is ongoing legal proceedings. And if someone publishes a report, puts out information, puts it out in the media, that is contempt of court, criminal offence. And that's why they took the report down, having taken legal advice. And all those involved, from Sarah Khan through to the Vice-Chancellor, through to the authors, through the contributors, all need to be thinking they could end up in court, contempt of court, where the Crown Prosecution Service will be the ones taking the case.
Wow, that's serious stuff, and that's definitely something that happens. But from the Sikh community perspective, this needs to be wider. Their condemnation, not only condemnation, awareness. Because I'm only learning about this report. I've not actually had a chance to read it, but obviously I'm getting
and I think
little snippets.
Sort of pull this show to give an update in terms of what's happening, because it's been on social media, and I think our duty was really to inform you of why we took the action against this report, against the academics doing this report, why it was critical that we act fast, and I'm thankful, with Guru Sahib Kirpa, we managed to get a successful start. I think, as Badi said, we've got meetings planned in the forthcoming future. But I would call anyone who studies at the University of Birmingham, anyone who has studied there and is alumni, write to that university and challenge them. Why are employees of that university openly being allowed to research and challenge and criticise the Sikh faith openly? And why is the university putting under its logo this kind of report and documentation? Because they must have read it. There's no way that this report would have been published without the Birmingham University doing its own due diligence on it. So anybody in the West Midlands who is studying there, has studied there, thinking about going there, just a resident, challenge the university. And similarly, this again, we'll share with you, we'll do a more detailed show.
Yeah, 100%.
There's 4 sections in this report that they touched on, and we'll go through all of those and talk about the contributors and their comments, because it's our duty to raise it and bring that awareness out. But ultimately, we've always said it, activism starts at home. It starts with you, Sarsanjit. Everyone has to feel it their duty. Don't look at Sikh Federation or Sikh Network or KTV that's going to lead the charge. You have to get active, because your silence and your sitting at home inactivity is giving these guys the platform. It is giving them room to put these venomous comments out and spread this poison against our faith, our gurus, our Siddhant, our principles openly. And when we challenge it, it's just a few that challenge them. This is the narrative that we need to collectively break and demonstrate that actually our Qawm is full of equality, pyar, and ekta, and that's what it's about. And these things, we will stand against tyranny, we'll stand against oppression, and we'll stand against human rights violations, but that is our Siddhant. So I think everyone, my message is, this is a real threat. It's out there, 100%. It's at the highest levels. Take action yourselves and be informed. Thank
you so much for Jaswinder Singh ji and Dabinderjit Singh ji and Sakrat Singh ji had to leave earlier. But Sar Singh ji, you've heard it here on KTV. There is a report that was commissioned, which has now been withdrawn, and we will be giving you an update into the contents of the report. And my only message is, obviously the comments and everything that's been made are the views being shared of obviously the panel themselves, and not necessarily the KTV itself. However, my humble beinti to everyone watching right now, I'm being serious, is the 550th anniversary of Tan Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. This is the time where all Sikhs should be getting together and looking at how we can help each other to protect our Qawm, our nation, our community. And if we don't do this now, then kodon karange. So my humble beinti, sare jane ikatte ho jiye. Whatever the problems between different rivalries between organisation groups and jathebandiyan, let's put that to a side and let's all come together and let's start to tackle, especially agendas. If there is an agenda at heart of the government where they're looking at the garb of the Sikhs and saying that they're Sikhni and we don't like this Sikh or we're going to try to demonise them, that will be tackled head on. इतो असी फतेह बुलाते हैं जी, और फिर मिलांगे अगले हफ्ते। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।